everybody, and welcome to podcasts. Unfortunately, it's not Brighton today; it's West Ham. Ian forgot to change I forgot to change the text on the front, but we are talking West Ham today. But briefly, we're going to look at what happened midweek. So, Stig, what did you think of Wednesday night?
Job done, mate. Very professional. Didn't need to be anything more. Bit of damage limitation in terms of fitness and injuries for me. Obviously, we've seen a couple of midfield players go off injured, and we lost Bobby as well. So we have to be careful. So there's no point in playing at 110 miles an hour. We were 2-0 up. They were losing their heads. It's going to end up being one of those FIFA games where 5 players get sent off and against 3-0 default. So in terms of that, for Liverpool, job done, through the group, 2 games to spare, can rest a few players maybe. Not convinced he will, but there's the option there to do that. And do you know what? Group of death. It was never a group of death for us, that was it?
To be fair, Stig, you called it. When the group got called out, and me myself, I was like, that's a difficult group, that, because you look at the names that are in there, you look at AC Milan, you look at Porto, you look at Atletico Madrid. You said AC Milan are not the team they were. Porto, we never seem to have any issues against anyway whenever we come up against them, and Atletico were probably the hardest team to beat in there. But you called it straight away, and you were proven absolutely right. Klopp made a comment this week about how we get a certain amount of money if we win games. So I don't think we'll rest too many people, because I still think he'll want the win to get the money in. So I just want to talk about a couple of performances from Wednesday. So first of all, I want to talk about Oxlade-Chamberlain. I thought he played pretty well on Wednesday. Do you think he plays tomorrow?
I think he played well. I think there's even more to come from him. I think it's difficult for Ox in Liverpool's current system because we've pushed the back line so far up the pitch. We've compressed the space in the opposition's half. That doesn't really lend itself to Oxlade-Chamberlain's qualities. Oxlade-Chamberlain is a guy who picks up the ball, it's in front of him, he drives into space, he lets shots off, he plays people in. We've been waiting a long time to see him play in the way that he did on Wednesday night. Nice to see, and hopefully it continues. We'll know what Klopp thought about it, because if he can't get Thiago, Henderson and Fab on the pitch at West Ham, which is ultimately what you need to do down there, it'd be interesting to see if he goes with Oxlade-Chamberlain again, which would be a massive vote of confidence, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if say those 3 that you mentioned are available, we all know the Ox is suffering from, I think, massive confidence issues right now. I think he's a bit down in confidence. After that performance on Wednesday, he doesn't play him. Will that have a negative effect on Ox then? Will Ox throw his arms in the air and go, well, there's no point now?
No. If he's got Henderson, Fabinho and Thiago available to him, we'll talk about this in a bit more detail as the pod goes on. You can't go to West Ham and not get a result at West Ham without controlling the game. So how do you control the game? When you haven't got the ball, you put your most defensive-minded players on the pitch that can cover the spaces, win the ball back, recycle the ball and give it to the front 3 to do their bit. As good as Ox was on Wednesday night, we saw the weekend before against Brighton that you can't control a game of football with the likes of Ox and Jones in the midfield 3, because they don't give you what Fabinho gives you. You've said it many, many times, and I said it recently on a pod this week, if you could make one player in our current team bulletproof that would never suffer from an injury, you'd have a good argument to say to make it Fabinho, because there's so much quality in the middle of the park. He is the best at what he does in world football for me. He's the best number 6 in world football. He's got physicality. He's aggressive. He wins the ball, and he can play a bit too. So for me, it wouldn't be a show of lack of faith in Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's always going to be horses for courses, mate. Always going to be dependent on your opposition. If we were going away to Norwich, it wouldn't be an issue. No disrespect to Norwich, but West Ham are a completely different proposition. So if you're going away to Norwich, then you can't play. To West Ham, you can't play with midfielders in there that don't give you anything when we haven't got the ball. And Ox, if that happens, I'm sure there'll be a conversation this week in training where he talks to him about what's what, talks to him tactically about what's needed. And if those three players aren't available, he may well get the nod because he used to play as a wing back for Arsenal. So he does have defensive qualities. We just don't call on them when he plays in our midfield.
How did you think of the performance of Simicast at left back on Wednesday night?
Can't fault it. You can't fault it. He's in there on merit at the moment, and rightly so. Fair play to him. I'm not sure whether he's going to have a run in the team at left back because Klopp's been very clever this week and said, by the way, I think Andy Robertson is the best left back in the world, which is answering people's conversations and all that at the moment. So I expect at some point Robertson to come back in. Will he come back in at West Ham? I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me. But it is good as Liverpool fans to see that we've got two left backs who would get in pretty much well. Robertson would get in every team in the world, and Simicast certainly would make his way into most of the Premier League sides currently. So it's never a bad place to be. But Robertson's your go-to man for Klopp. I think he's made that clear.
I just want to talk about one player who's in Liverpool play before we go on to West Ham, and he's gathered quite a bit of debate this week about how the Liverpool supporters booed Suarez as he came off. Now, for me, his antics for Barcelona, not just Atletico Madrid over the last 4 matches, warrant the booing as he came off. I think if it was any other player in the world that had performed the way he had for Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, there'd be no issues at all about booing him. Just what you would have thought, because a lot of the Liverpool fans online are criticising the fans that booed him. I just wonder what you thought about it, Steve.
Well, it's a fan's prerogative, isn't it? It's up to you how you see that situation. The thing with Suarez is he'd have gone to Arsenal for basically a quid over the transfer clause, and it took Gerrard to talk him out of doing that. Didn't leave the club particularly well in terms of he was suspended for a long period of time, and we accepted Barcelona's bid after the incident with Chiellini. The dark arts thing you relate to many, many times to do with Liverpool players past and present. He was great at that, and he was like that. When he's in your team, you'll go out of your way to defend him, and when he's not in your team, you'll go out of your way to criticise him. So I've got no problem if Liverpool fans want to boo him. The conduct in the Barcelona semi-final was very bad. Screaming in people's faces when Messi scores the free kick. You don't do that. You show some respect. So if there's people in Anfield that want to boo him because he's a pantomime villain, let's be honest, that's what he is, then I'm okay with that. It's a fan's prerogative. You pay your money to go and watch the team. You pay your money to go and support the club. If you want to boo an ex-player that's conduct's been questionable and his behaviour when in games against Liverpool has been of a distinct lack of respect, then go ahead and boo him. Personally speaking, for me, arguably one of the best players Liverpool Football Club's ever had. Technically, his conduct, his behaviour leave a lot to be desired. So if they want to boo him, doesn't bother me either way. I'm not going to come on Twitter and put myself in one camp or another. It is what it is. People will shout at him. People will applaud him. You can't argue what he did for the club, but you also can't argue how he behaves at times either.
No, very well put, Steve. Like I put today on Twitter, none of us were complaining when he dived in front of David Moyes in the derby, which is pretty much the same as turning down and shouting in another player's face, really. So,
could you imagine if he'd done that against Liverpool on Wednesday night?
I think we might have got a couple of people running on the pitch.
Those that took to Twitter saying you shouldn't do him would have been joining in. Football's fickle, fans are fickle. It's no drama, mate. It's done, isn't it? Hopefully we put them out. They've got to win both their games realistically to stay in the competition, and you wouldn't want to play them in the quarterfinal. That's for sure.
No. So what's tomorrow's game, Steve? So how difficult is tomorrow's game going to be?
It's one of the hardest games you've got in the Premier League calendar right now with West Ham's form. The stadium will be buzzing. Always is when teams are doing well. It's possibly our most difficult fixture of the season so far. And I say that, and I don't say that lightly because obviously you're thinking, hang on a minute, we've played Chelsea and Manchester City, and Steve's saying this is our hardest game. But they were at home when the impetus was on us to be on the front foot, when the home team was expected to win the game. And obviously that didn't happen. So we look at that and we think, okay, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We got points out of those games. West Ham are flying. Make no mistake, they're doing a tremendous job down there. And all credit to the manager. He's reinvented himself after the incidents with Manchester United and then in Spain when things didn't go well for him. They're riding high. They're like us. They're confident. They can't wait to play games of football. We will have to take our A game to there on Sunday. And if we come away with a win, that is an absolutely tremendous result, because there's probably not a harder away game other than coming to Anfield in the Premier League at the moment, because they're just doing it right. They've got really, really strong midfield in Souček and Rice. That's a really good balance. They brought Kurt Zuma in, who's a dominant defender, which they needed. I still can't believe they were the only club that went in for him, by the way. 30 million wasn't a lot for a player of that ability. And then obviously the obvious threats. You've got Antonio, who's very physical, has already said he fancies the battle with Van Dijk physically. He says he's no one stronger than him, but Van Dijk's right up there, but he wouldn't expect to be out-muscled. So, Van Dijk's been told about this, and he'll go shoulder to shoulder with him. And then the player that Klopp likes, Jared Bowen, very industrious, really, really hard working. He's kind of like a modern day Dirk Kuyt in terms of his contribution and how hard he works. And it's not inconceivable at some point Liverpool might have a look at him, because Klopp is a big fan. He said it again this week. He's a big fan. Tough game. Make no mistake about it. If we come out of there with a win, it's an absolutely brilliant result. If we come out there with a draw, it's not a disaster, because West Ham are beating everybody that's put in front of them at the moment.
If we are to win this game, Steve, where's the key points? Where's the battle we need to win? Where's the key area on the pitch?
Midfield, which is why I spent so much time talking about Oxlade-Chamberlain and the pitfalls of playing him against West Ham. If you play Henderson, Thiago and Fabinho, there's a good chance you get to dominate Souček and Rice, because that's 3v2. And I think pound for pound, Fabinho is better than both of those guys. I think pound for pound, Thiago is a better user of a ball than those guys. And I think Henderson is just a leader. We know he's looking for a bit of form. He's had a couple of good games. But they need to do that over a longer period of time. Those three guys are quite capable of getting a grip of that midfield and controlling it. So for me, that game will be won and lost in that battle in the centre of the park.
So looking at tomorrow's team, so the first question, obviously Alisson picks himself. What will you do with left back? Would you give Tsimikas rewards for the way he played in midweek, or would you bring Robertson back in tomorrow?
You should, but you won't. I fully expect to see Robertson play, but I think Tsimikas would be disappointed, and rightly so. Is he defensively stronger than Robertson? That's close, isn't it? Robertson was better in the final third, sort of a year, 18 months ago, and he was doing what Trent was doing down the left-hand side. Robertson's had a difficult 18 months with injuries, with Wijnaldum leaving in this season, and he can't do what he does with Curtis Jones sat in front of him, because if he goes past Curtis Jones and Liverpool lose the ball and it breaks down quickly and there's a long ball inside to out into the space that Robertson's vacated, you're not relying on Curtis Jones to sit in that hole and fill that space for him. That's unlikely to happen. So I think, hi Dean, so I think from that respect...
Hey, how's it going?
Our roving reporter in the background there.
You know what it is? Yeah. Do you know what it is? I'm just coming back from Birmingham, so I'm been on the road since about 9 o'clock. So right now I'm in Canary Wharf. So it's just been a very long day. So I'm just about to kind of end that leg of my journey.
Shades of standing outside Melwood waiting for the silver Mercedes van to drive through the doors, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We'll go to Dean at Melwood. Dean, any sign of any players coming in the door? So, Ian, back to you, fella.
Right, so I've just asked Steve a question. I'm going to ask you the same. Obviously, Alisson will pick him. Alisson will go straight into goal tomorrow. So after his performance on Wednesday, would you pick Tsimikas, or would you bring Robertson back in?
Personally, that's a good question. So personally, I would probably stick with Tsimikas. I did say this on social media. So basically, what I said on social media was that I think that Tsimikas didn't deserve to be dropped out in the first place. I think he's performed well enough through the season, during his performances to kind of warrant staying in. So I think they should stick with Simicast. He's the person in form. He is actually producing more than Andy Robertson going forward, which I think is what we will need against West Ham. I think defensively he's not having too many troubles. I did initially think that he was struggling a little bit defensively, but he seems to have ironed out a few of the issues that I kind of saw in his game. So he's more reliable than he was when he first started. So I would stick with Simicast for the time being. But that's not kind of a slight on Robertson. Robertson is not in form at the moment, and he could use the rest. And I think the competition will drive him on. If I'm being honest.
Very good. Another one, Steve, for you. So Canate's been popping in and out of the team the last couple of weeks. Do you think Matip starts tomorrow, or do you think he might bring Canate in to go with Antonio's strength?
We clean sheeted against Atletico Madrid, and that shouldn't be lost in terms of thinking about what the team will be. However, in Antonio, you get someone who's got pace and power, and in Ibu Konate, you've got pace and power. And in Van Dijk, you've got pace and power. So you may have to match him because, as I said to you previously before Dean joined us, he's been on social media this week saying, I'm the strongest centre-forward in the Premier League and I don't think anybody should be out-muscling me and I don't think Virgil van Dijk should be out-muscling me. Do you know what? If you're David Moyes, you love that because it's bravado and it says your centre-forward's confident. But if you're the central defender playing against him, I've already said to you in this pod, Virgil van Dijk's going to reach up and take that challenge and welcome it. So I think if we're going to go horses for courses, and as I said before, this is a really, really tough game. They're flying. You've got to match them all over the pitch. We've already talked about matching them in the middle of the park. If we've got the players available, I think you've got to match them in the final third because whilst Antonio is the muscle and the guy that draws all the plaudits, don't underestimate the work rate of a Jared Bowen. It's very, very clever movements and he's industrious and he works hard. And you'll also need to match his energy and his physicality, which is why I can see back to the Simicast Robertson conversation. I would like to leave Simicast in there, but I think he'll go with Robertson.
Right, Steve, before you arrived, I had a little bit of a chat about the midfield. So what midfield would you go with tomorrow afternoon?
So I had a bit of a think about this, kind of based on the midweek performance. I think I would go with obviously Fab. I think Fabinho needs to come straight back in. I would stick with Henderson. I know Henderson has played a lot of games, and people have been a kind of, there's been differing schools of thought with regards to his performances. But I think Henderson showed enough on Wednesday to just want him staying in. And then for the final position, I'd go with Ox. I think I'd stick with Ox. I think as long as he's he's still fit and he's a rhythm player. I said this on social media. He's somebody who thrives in playing numerous games at one time. So as long as he's kind of sorry about that, it's a bit windy here. So as long as he's kind of playing a number of games in a row, and he's getting back to his performances, I think that Ox is probably our best option right now. So I would play him. I think we're going to have a tough task trying to kind of control that central midfield of Souček and Rice. They're very dynamic. But I think that's what Ox is really good at. I think that if we kind of focus on our strengths of being proactive and being dynamic, I think we'll be able to kind of outnumber and overpower them.
Fair points. Steve, so with Firmino's injury, is the front three as simple as it's just Jota, Mane and Salah? Or can you see Klopp throwing up any surprises, maybe including a Origi or a Minamino? Or
no, I think we've got to offer a threat, and Jota offers more of a goal threat than Bobby did. And just going back to the point Dean made about Ox, and I kind of picked up on that, even though I've spoken differently. Ox will play somewhere typically between the midfield and the front line, which will fill in the space that Bobby normally looks after, because Jota can't do that. No disrespect to him, it doesn't have the same footballing intelligence from a defensive organisational point of view, but he certainly offers you more of a goal threat. I think the front three picks itself. There's been a clamour to give Minamino minutes from some of our fan base. this isn't the game to do that, because there will be long periods of this game where it's backs against the wall. And I don't think Minamino physically gives you enough defensive responsibility. I'm still on the fence with this guy, Minamino. I still don't know what to do with him. I don't know what his best position is. He would probably play better in a 4-2-3-1, which I hate because it shuts down the space that Mane and Salah want to run into, because you're compressing you're closing down the spaces in the final third by putting bodies in there. So for me, that's a worry. I only ever see Salah getting wider and wider and wider when we play a 4-2-3-1. So the front three pick themselves, mate. Jota's scoring goals. You can't leave a guy out that's scoring goals. What message would you be sending to Jota, who scored against Manchester United, who scored against in midweek as well? You know, what should have scored a couple more. So he's getting into those positions. We might get 3 good chances against West Ham at the weekend because they will work hard to keep us out. And we need our best players in those positions to score goals. And that would be the 3 best finishers who are available at the moment. Mane was superb until he took him off at half-time against Atletico. For me, the best player on the pitch. Jota's scoring goals. And Mo Salah's the best player in the world right now. So for me, that when you sit and write the team out, you worry about the rest of it and not that.
Just another thing on Jota is, I kind of take your point, Steve, that he is he's maybe not kind of as intelligent as probably Firmino, but one of the things that I've noticed kind of recently is that his all-round game is improving. And it's very kind of slight things in terms of what he's doing when he's dropping deeper, kind of like a Bobby Firmino sort of thing. He is more accurate with his passes. He is quicker with his passes. So, for example, I guess, in fact, I think it happened twice. So the first example would be against Manchester United, where he does that quick kind of round the back pass to Firmino for the first goal, and then Firmino plays through Salah. And then he does a similar thing. I can't remember which goal it was for, whether it was for the first or the second, but he does a similar thing where he passes it around the back. And I think it might have been for the second, where he's passed it around the back to Mane, and Mane is done his skills to get past it. So I'm seeing kind of little things like that are kind of, it's as simple as him taking fewer touches, basically, when he's with the ball, feeling more kind of composed when he's on the ball, feeling more comfortable to just kind of make that pass first time when the opening is there, rather than taking 1 or 2 touches or trying to kind of fashion a chance, a more difficult chance.
I totally agree with everything you've just said. And that is brilliant when we're going through our transition and we're on the ball. The difference between the two for me is, if you were to sit down in a room and have a conversation with Jorginho or a Rodri or Kante or a Matic or someone like that and say, tell me what you think about Bobby Firmino, he'd tell you he's a pest. And when he's on the pitch, he is in the space that they want to receive the ball in. You don't get that from Jota because that's a natural thing for Bobby to do. But everything you've just said, Dean, about when he's got the ball and he tends to face up, I've been saying for a long time, Bobby's passes need more fizz on them. They need to be more intense. They need to be quicker into feet. You can hit the ball at Sadio Mane and Mo Salah as hard as you like. They will manipulate the pace on that ball to change direction, and defenders will tell you that's the hardest thing to pick up. You would know, having played the game at decent level. But the thing for Bobby is, Bobby would have interacted and probably caused Declan Rice a fair amount of problems if he sits really deep, which I suspect he will for West Ham. Bobby would be a guy in and around him, and often West Ham would have to miss out Declan Rice for that reason in terms of play building. I think he'll get a bit more time on the ball with Jota in the side. It's not a criticism. It's I've always felt Jota was more of a threat to Mane's position than he was to Firmino's position. But Bobby's unique in what he gives you in terms of what he does. You can't go and find another one because there isn't one. So brilliant points made, and very well eloquented, mate. You really made your point really well there. I totally agree with you.
Just talking about that position, and I'm not talking about this for tomorrow, and maybe talking about this further in the future. Do you not think that's a role that Minamino could play, Steve?
No. Again, if Minamino goes, Bobby's quite strong. Great balance, got sort of 360 vision, so he can see players coming at him from all angles. When Bobby is no longer able to play in that position and moves on from Liverpool Football Club, because these players get older and their careers change, There isn't another player in the world football you can go out and say, bring him in to do Bobby's job. You'd have to change the system because it is unique what he does. And only when he's not playing for us will the fans really come out and respect what he did when we don't do it anymore. So we've given up on the idea that Bobby's going to get us 25 goals a season. He just doesn't do that. What he does is he's a knitter of play, and he's really, really, really good in that regard. So I take everything Dean said on board about Jota's strengths and qualities, and he's 100% correct. But that's a unique position for Bobby to play in. And there's talk of trying to get Ox to play it. He can't do it either because it's just unique. It's a skill set that you've either got or you haven't. It's very, very difficult to teach somebody to put 4 different thought processes together at once in terms of where am I, where are my opponents, when I receive the ball, where are my teammates, what am I going to do? That's what Bobby makes those decisions in a split second. A Minamino or a Jota needs to put a foot on the ball and then have a look. And in the time it takes to do that, they're either shut down and the ball's been taken off them, or the runs that Mane and Salah are making have been closed down because it's that you need to do it like that. It's got to be done really quickly. So no, that's Bobby's job and Bobby's job alone, mate. And it'll be a problem when we have to replace him.
Yeah, no, I said a similar thing on social media where I said that Bobby plays at a specific speed, and it's not a physical thing. It's something that's in his head. His intelligence is quicker than everyone else's. He knows where his players are supposed to be. He knows where the opposition players are likely to go. So he's able to do those quick, 1-2 passes and make intelligent bits of movement that confuse oppositions. And I think the Manchester United game was a good example of that. He's just in his head. He is about 4 yards faster than everybody else, and he's just super intelligent in that position. And it's no wonder so many professional players are saying that was it the 9.5 position? There's nobody better in the world than Bobby. So kind of finding any a player to fill in for that job is a difficult task. We're probably going to have to just kind of change the way that we do things slightly, because asking somebody else to kind of do Bobby is it doesn't seem like it's the easiest thing to do.
So it's time to put you on the spot, guys, because come up to that time. So Steve, come to you first. What do you think the score will be tomorrow, and who do you think will be the scorers?
I'm going to tell you a score now, and I'm hoping it isn't that, because we'll see the usual meltdown on Twitter. I'm going for a Desmond 2-2, mate. 2-2. I think both teams will score. I think it'll be a mini crisis on Twitter because Liverpool haven't won the game. Listen, this is right now the toughest game in the Premier League right now, other than coming to Anfield. West Ham are on top of their game. They're flying. Their confidence is up. Their fans can't wait to get in the ground. All of the players feel good about themselves. This is a tough game. This is, as I said before, with due respect to the home games, this is the hardest game of the season for us so far. We played City and Chelsea at home where we were expected to play on the front foot. This is a really, really tough game, and credit to West Ham for getting themselves into this position.
Same question to you, Dean. What do you think the score will be tomorrow, and who do you think the scorers will be?
I think the score will be. I think we will win. I think a lot of people will probably fancy West Ham to get something from the game. But I think a lot of people. I think it was a similar scenario last season where West Ham were on a run of form. I think they'd won like 5 games in a row at the time when we faced them. We ended up beating them 3-1. I think it will be a similar scenario. I just think that we will overpower them in the midfield, and that's what's going to be key. As long as we can. Yeah, as long as we can kind of keep wraps of their midfield, especially Souček and Rice, I think 3-1. And I think the scorers will be. I'm going to say Mane to light it up. I think Mane will be the standout tomorrow. I think they'll put so much emphasis on Salah, and Mane will run riot, especially seeing as he got some time to relax in the Atletico game. So. 3-1. I'll say Mane with 2, and then perhaps Salah with 1.
Right, so I'll give you my predictions then before Steve tells me off and tells me to give mine anyway. So I think it'll be 3-2 to Liverpool tomorrow. I can see us doing it. I think there'll be a little time in the game where we scored 2 quick goals. I think Salah will get 1, and I think Jota and Mane will get 1. I think other front 3 will get a goal each tomorrow. I can see 1 from Declan Rice, and I can see 1 from Antonio for them. But I reckon 3-2, because I think although we won in midweek, as far as the Premier League goes, I think we're going to be a bit like a bear with the sore head, because I think Liverpool will feel like they dropped points last week and they want to make them points up.
I hope you're right.
So I think that's the perfect time to end it there. If you've liked what you've seen, follow us on YouTube at COP Podcast. Pop on over to Twitter. Follow us over there. We're on Instagram at COP. And yesterday we joined TikTok, and we're over on TikTok with little short videos for you. So join us on COP at the KOPPED 1892, and come over and join us. Thanks, Dean. Thanks very much, Steve. And we'll see you.
Just for those of you that do wander over to TikTok, it's not to watch Ian twerking. All right, just need to put that out there.
No. It's football clips. Some terrible music, football clips.
So nice one.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, boys.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.